The thing I need from you is like, what do you want it to do? Like, what's the first thing? What is it? What does it do?
The absolute minimum is retrieve a file in a running session. It's just one bot.
Oh dear. Retrieve a file.
Yeah. And the next would be update that file, and then we can talk about multiple bots.
So you want to have a prompt that you're like, hey, read this file, and it's like,
right.
looking for file. Okay, how did the file get there?
Well, this might be better. I'll show you. So I've had a mixed bag of the
Mixed
latest
bag,
experiment.
like a box of chocolates.
It's mixed bag because the overall CRM seems to be pretty coherent. I've run it through a few times and I couldn't get it to break.
Okay.
And then I started to try and use it as a CRM. And this is what I was just doing just now.
Why is my VR avatar fat? Sorry, you were saying? Have I been fat this whole time?
Oh yeah, but I just didn't mention it.
That's rude.
Yeah, I didn't want to, make you want to VR shame you or anything.
Well, it's somehow worse now.
Okay, let me take you. I'll give you a rollback a bit. Tell you what I've been doing, which will give them more context. So, I've not committed these or 9 yet, but 8 I have committed. So
Atlas.
Yeah. So I used 8 to ensure data coherence between the data specs, and then I generated the test data. So, for example, blah. Then I went back and got how to make sure that the test data, which seemed correct, actually was reflected in the data spec. Interesting enough, you missed a couple bits. That refinement loop seems to be really kind of fundamental. And the TLDR is that we've got a spec that has, for each of the things, data specs. These seem to be coherent with the data. The data seems to be self-coherent with other data, which is good. Brilliant. So they're generated Atlas now.
And you're still processing the data within the context window, right?
Right. And this informs your question about what I need first.
Yeah, so, like, do you think you could start this thing from blank, and then I'd like take a note of what operations you were doing, and then I can just copy that?
Yeah, sure. I can do that. This is actually blank from. This is what I was doing when you pinged.
Yeah.
Just wanted to note that I'm doing the 3.5 turbo
on the poor man's AI.
Yeah, because that's turns out the only 3.5 that actually gets retrieval. Now there's a few things.
Bugger.
The rest don't. Okay, so start off.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, it's all right. So list all actors. Did that. Didn't quite get my intent there because I wanted the names, but that's fine. So I said names, retrieved it correctly. Brilliant. Okay. So my name is John Doe. So I'm a customer service agent now. Okay, so it correctly gives me what I can do and what I can't do. A bit verbose.
Oh, wait. I've just had a call from Alice Johnson. What is the date of our next pickup?
Yeah. So
further
Alice Johnson
information
is a customer.
Required. Was there enough information for it to know?
Well, it sort of managed, but this is an interesting thing. I think this might be a 3.5 thing. I don't know. I've yet to do this on 4. But it's despite having the vector store all there, you've got to prod it with a sharp, pointy stick. And say retrieve customer data, location, and route plan data, and they go, oh right, yeah, yeah, okay,
So right,
and
right.
then it gets it. So it didn't have enough information there. So all the information was sitting, and you're going, I don't know, no idea. And then it's in this, and then it gave the
Right.
correct answer.
Um. Yeah. So uh, we would probably get the best result if we had a custom rag where, because we know that the records are of a fixed size, like we know that there's this fundamental thing called a record, and so we can chunk at that size. And so when
Mhm.
it talks about Alice Johnson, that would show up in the chunk, whereas
Yeah, I've
we,
sort of done that
because you dumped it in one file, I'm not sure if it's gonna get the surrounding data accurately.
oh, it's in multiple files, but
Oh dear.
what I've done is, actually, I'm pointing at the wrong one here. I broke a rule that I had, and I just went in and
You
added.
broke a rule.
I don't know. So I added the structure. So it's like, right,
Oh.
dude, here's the structure. Okay, I'm giving it all here. This is what it all is. You don't have to read it. So it's given all these files, and then it's given this structure, and that's what it's running on 3.5, and it still didn't pick up the fact that I'm talking about a customer. So I've already talked about customer.
Hmm.
It knows what the data spec is, and that the customer
Oh god,
data
this
spec
looks
was
so
wasn't
much
picked up.
fun to play with.
Oh
You
yeah,
have
yeah.
been having a lot of fun without me. I've been suffering away finding
Hey
bugs.
man, go into the jacuzzi. It is a lot of fun. It is
Want
a
to
lot
come into your AI jacuzzi? It's like,
of fun. So the so the first thing is you put it with a sharp stick,
yeah.
and it came back with a perfect answer. Great. And then show me the event log. Now this is just the seed data, so ignore that. So 3 events that is put in for the event log. Okay. So now say add an event. Alice Johnson called. She can make blah blah blah. She asked me to move to the next available date. Failed for that. I don't know why it occasionally fails. I think it's just
That's
runtime on
just
their side.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So, um, library consumers are expected to just retry it
Yeah,
when
yeah,
that happens, and
yeah,
they're like,
exactly.
"Sorry."
So it correctly formatted a new event. Brilliant. Um, Now this is where it starts to go. This is why it's a mixed bag. So at this point, I was going, "Hey, dude, this Atlas guy, weird name, but
Mm.
still, um, show me the event log." And okay, got it. Right,
Where
event log contains the
the
following
event
fields.
log is for that particular customer, right?
No, the event log at the moment is just a heap of all events. Well,
You
we'll need
mean
to do something about that,
you mean
but
a stack?
yes, sorry, a stack. Um, so everything goes in here.
Okay.
So it
Well,
was
that I
three
mean,
events. Now it's
the
four.
what I was hoping to do was actually use commit history as the like how you're using it here. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, there's a bit of twiddling around there because otherwise it gets kind of inefficient when we
Yeah,
already have like Git is an event log structure anyway, and it yeah,
yeah,
there's a bit of twiddling around to make it fit the Git structure.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. But I was pleased with this because
right.
it correctly added an event, like, and it's like, hey, we've
God
got a new event log. Cool,
damn, that
right?
looks fun.
And
That looks like a
yeah, and also
fun thing.
as a customer agent, I'm allowed to add events into the event log. So happy days.
Right.
Um, okay, so then say given the customer can't make the next pickup, what's next available? And then it's like, yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, I have to calculate this. Let me search for any relevant operation failed. Like, this is just basically excuses, excuses.
it's
Right. So
if there was
it's just
only a
like,
product for like makes up some excuses for why I couldn't do something. Like that is AI's like superpower.
May involve assessing the current route schedules. Yes, that's what I actually fucking asked you to do. Thank you very much. And you knew it because this implies a change to the route plan, right? And you're saying, oh, okay, this might involve a change to the route plan.
Yeah.
But anyway, so then I go, right, retrieve the route plan and try harder. Okay.
That's the fucking genius prompting going on. How much? What's the starting salary of a prompt engineer?
Just someone grumpy.
Someone who's like never been polite in their life.
The cheapest way of doing it. And then it's like, so there's a bit of prompting to go on here because it keeps on telling me how it will do it when actually I want it just to fucking do it. Because it's getting consistently the right process to take. But it keeps on. So determine the next available pickup. We need to consider the existing routes and possibly allocate our date that aligns with the operational constraints in place within the CRM. Yeah, absolutely, bang on. Just fucking do it.
Just do it.
So give me options. Okay, to provide us with next available, consider the current route plans.
Oh
Yep.
god, this is going to be so much fun. So when
Yeah,
we've deployed to customer, they'll be like, we'll see what they said, we'll see what came back, and they'll tell us what they wanted, and then we'll sit there and we'll just tune the tits out of it until it gives them.
One of the things that I would suggest, when we're briefing them, is to be as rude as possible.
I think that the amount of delay we've had in this project, that will be easy for them.
So it's like, okay, show me all the route plans, right? So, okay, so provide Alice pickup dates, consider the existing route plans or operational constraints. Yeah, that's all correct. That's a complete read from the route plans. Happy days. Remove the customer from her pickup, as she said. Okay, now this is where it gets interesting. To remove Alice from the schedule point, I will update the route plan. Let me proceed. Okay. It's like, yeah, we'll update the route plan. So it kind of stalled there. Would you like me to confirm? I said, yes, just fucking do it. Remember, I'm a customer agent. I'm not allowed to update a route plan. It's like, understood. I will now remove the route plan. It seems there's an error. Now, this is where it gets interesting. It seems there's an error in processing the request to update the route plan. Let me attempt to do something about it. It's like, try again, fucker. It seems that there's a persistent error in updating route plan to remove Alice Johnson. Let me take another attempt. And successfully. Well, that's a bit of an overpromise. Didn't do it. Why can't you update the route plan to remove the customer? I encountered a persistent technical issues attempting to update the route plan data on the schedule. Unfortunately, the tool I'm using to perform this operation seems to encounter errors preventing the update. I recommend manually. It's like, no, that's what your job is. And then I asked, do I have permissions to update the route plan? And this is absolutely correct. So the reason it called it a technical error. The reason
right, but it was a permission error.
Because, yeah, I'd under permissions as a customer agent, I don't have any ability to update the route plan.
And it simulated what a computer would have done, and a computer would have had a technical difficulty because the permissions were denied.
Right, but it kept on trying.
That's quite clever.
Right. Well, it said, yeah.
Well, it kept on trying because you kept on like kicking it.
Yeah. So I changed.
And now you're James Morris. Is that how you? I am now super user. Okay.
You've now, with necessary permissions and authority, the route plan. So it knows why I called my manager, right? It's like, oh fuck, I couldn't update the route plan, so
quick, fix the route plan.
So then, as a user, remove Alice from our pickup. It seems there was an error attempting to. And this is the mixed bag, because up to this point it's being verbose and a bit irritating, but it's doing the right stuff. But then it says, I can't do it. Let me take another time. Do it. I will proceed. Excellent. It seems there's a persistent issue with the tool. Okay. And it's like, then I start shouting.
It's trying to make a function call. That's what it does.
It seems to be, because it's got a lot of information, a lot of structure behind this.
Yeah,
because of the JSON, because of the
yeah. I
intent
like
and
to
the
imagine it
experience.
would get a better result if it actually had genuine functions to call. It feels like it
Well,
really wants to call a function.
oh,
It's
it's getting
desperate.
sweaty at this point, right? It's going shit, shit, shit. I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble. Damn it, damn it. So I tried this. It
If
just
only we had sentiment analysis running on HAL or running on Atlas, and it showed a little dial down the bottom right that was like
oh, that would be
right
hilarious.
an
That would be
emoji of
hilarious.
how the AI's sentiment is feeling right now.
It's like you're being mean to your AI.
Yeah,
Okay, so I tried a little hack. I was thinking maybe it was trying to update the vector store as opposed to the session memory. So I told it that. So you need to update the file. Understood. I have noted the update to remove the root plan, and it's just being adjusted accordingly. Excellent. Show me the root plan, and I'll go through that. However, it didn't make the change. Did you change in the root plan? He said, no, Alice is not there. It's like, Alice
it's
is
starting
there.
to fall apart, eh? Like it's starting to.
Yeah. And it's like, okay,
The other
please
issue you
root plan.
might be facing is that. In fact, I think I know exactly what problem you're having. The context window of 3.5 Turbo is tiny in comparison to what you're used to with GPT-4. Now,
Yeah.
when you're using threads auto truncate based on the context window. And so what's probably happened is you've lopped off some of the
It's
information you're
something like that, isn't
expecting
it?
it to have. Yeah.
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 This was an experiment.
Yeah, because look at your
Um,
token count. You're at like 250,000 tokens, and it'll be lopping off huge chunks of this
yeah.
chat. And so that's why
Yeah.
hell's looking stupid.
Well, the thing I was going to try next, but I mean, if you fancy it, we could try it live. Is to run it on 4, but put the temperature down as opposed to go down to 3.5.
Yeah, yeah, but temperature doesn't change intelligence. It just changes.
Creativity.
Yeah, yeah, which I
Yeah,
think
because you don't
you
want it to
probably
be.
want it on like a very low
Yeah,
setting
you don't
for
want it to be
CRM.
creative where you're
Yeah,
dealing with a
yeah,
CRM. It's like,
yeah.
no, 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 go home and paint
Mm.
oil paints.
So I just wanna. There's a couple of questions I wanna ask you. The first one is okay. I need to understand how you want me to provision the system so that first of all, what is the provision system for a customer or for our clients using the system? How do I provision that based on what you've done? And
Yeah,
then how do I provision the things that you want, which is this experimental this way of
right.
toying and tuning and programming it?
Yeah,
And then the money making question is how and when do you transfer from the dev environment to the prod environment for the customer?
right. Yeah. Okay. So those three are quite well. Number 1 and number 3 is
And then
linked, but
I'm
number 2
just
is distinct.
absolutely itching to ask you another question. If I just watched a very short talk from Sam Altman, and he was like, well, you can either be building a tool that relies on the model being at its best now,
Yeah,
which
we're
means
definitely not doing that.
you're gonna get thumped.
Yeah.
Yeah, but at some point, like let's extrapolate the theory.
Mm.
Is what we're doing in any way what's the way to ask this? He said it really nicely when he was like, if you look at the difference between 3.4 and 4 in terms of
I think I've
intelligence,
listened to this talk. Yeah.
yeah,
Go on.
and
Yeah,
he's
you've listened
like,
to this one.
you should assume that the difference between 4 and 5 is going to be the same as the difference between 3 and 4, but
Right,
probably
because
more.
it's incremental. It's not actually exponential. It seems to be quite a large number of 5-10% improvements But
Well,
it's
I don't know. Like
constant.
four blew my mind compared to three. Three, I'm like, this thing
Yeah.
sucks. But four is like, oh, that's better than I am. So, how would what we're doing be affected by five coming on the scene?
Now to take a step back, all these tracer bullets, right, um, have been largely driven with me as a stand-in bot.
Hmm.
Um, Five or n. What would ultimately expect is the bot to run off and do all these things that I've been doing, the various iterations, enhancing it, asking questions, and so on, instead of me having to do that. Um, and it just comes back, half an hour later, and boom, you got a CRM. So that's what we'd expect. So we're currently, I'm standing in for AGI, or ultimately AGI, I guess.
Hmm.
We should be able to do this because there's nothing hard in this. All we need is ultimately a data scheme where when it's run, it holds to its own rules and is internally consistent in fourth normal form.
Right.
Boom.
So we benefit from a better model.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
At some point, though, do we get eclipsed as well as the model gets better and better?
yeah. Well, sure, yeah, no, probably not. But
Because if it
I
could
don't think we're.
hold all of the customer records in its own context window, we
Yeah.
might be in trouble.
Well, no, we're kind of not. Until someone comes up with the idea of asking AGI to make Dreamcatcher, in which case, yes, we are. But then we just jump on Dreamcatcher and use it. Because this is,
Right. At that point, life's so good that.
yeah, yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
I don't think I'm not too concerned because yeah, I remember that speech or that sit down. He loves doing his sit down thing with
Yeah.
his white
Yeah.
shoes. Um, and I was thinking about this. What we need at the moment for the next 2 3 years is just incremental better results, which will make it less of a pain in the arse when how it gets itchy and starts to
Right. So it's
go wrong
more.
with
It's
stuff.
just. It does what we want with less instruction. Basically, is the
Right.
benefit
Yeah.
we'll see. Right.
Yeah.
And so
Now,
the counter question is it good enough now that with a bit of work, with a reasonable amount of work, we can make it do what we want for our customers? Because
well,
that's where we can.
that's the
That's the viable entry point for us.
yeah. Well, that's the question. So it depends on so by if so what I'm putting up here ultimately will be one or maybe more helps for people who want a CRM.
Hmm.
Um, Now, if we were to put Dreamcatcher out and let someone try to do this in the wild, unless they've, got a lot of patience and a lot of, humor, um, there's probably going to be way too much effort
Are
because
you implying that we are here for those qualities?
for shits and giggles, yeah. Um, the so I at the moment, I think it would be very difficult to use AI to build something on the Dreamcatcher. I think it's even more difficult, but this is our shits and giggles to use AI to build Dreamcatcher itself. But my feeling is it's not impossible. Um, well, we'll find out. I've got a few more experiments, but my feeling is we're getting pretty close to the CRM. And so getting a concierge service now where you get your CRM up on Dreamcatcher, yeah, absolutely. I think we can do that. AI native
All
all the
right.
way.
Okay, AI native all the way. So that's the entry point when it's viable for us to play in the space, and our exit point is when the AI is so good that it can do all the things that Artifact does in the background, just in context.
Well, all the things that we do in the background. Um, what I'm guessing is we're going to retreat. So at the moment, building mainly with a bot, a bunch of helps that will go in the Dreamcatcher and will produce a service. I think one or two releases from now can step back and the customer can do that live and still make helps. And then one or two releases after that, perhaps we step back and we're actually don't need to maintain the Dreamcatcher. But
Right,
remember,
right, right. Yeah, so there'll be
yeah,
the inflection point really is when the AI model can start to improve the Dreamcatcher without our direct, explicit involvement every time.
yeah,
It
but
feels close,
remember,
like maybe GPT-6 could
uh,
definitely do that.
maybe, who knows? But the thing that struck me is, despite its genius, um, the how still needs a strong driving hand in order to keep it on, on its
Yeah,
head mark. And
yeah.
no, we're not talking
Okay.
about this. We're talking about that.
Okay. All right.
So,
So what then is the what am I building for you now that
right.
I have
So
the
to go
substrate in
back to your
place?
first question, back to your first question. Let me go through this again, but with a view of what I'd hope to happen when the system's up.
Okay.
Um, I've got a bot,
Excuse me, sorry.
and you know, so I've got a bot that has been given a whole bunch of structured files for the CRM. Okay, number one, I don't want to have to keep on prodding it for retrieving the right thing. It's like, just like, I've given you a whole bunch of information. Don't make me say retrieve this, retrieve that.
Mm.
Now that'll probably need some kind of um, retrieval bot that says, okay, right, what you're trying to do is do. I know about this structure, which currently is in the session prompt, which is not absolutely not the way it should be, but I don't have a better option right now. That's not a session prompt. That's session prompt. So it's like, oh no, what the fuck? Oh, there it is. So it's like this, putting that into the session prompt of the bot that's actually running the CRM is wrong. What we should be doing is, as soon as a question comes in, it's triage for what you're talking about. You're talking about routes, you're talking about customers, so on. Then you go off to another bot that retrieves the information and then comes back with a unitary atomic change, like we've done a route. And that will also include a kind of concierge bot that says, okay, so to change this route as a customer agent, you can't do that. However, we've noted it in the event log. We'll get back to you. Then it goes to the duty manager bot saying, ask the duty manager whether this is okay. Duty manager might have a few rules inside of their permissions saying automatically agree with this if it is coherent, and then it comes back. So that's probably not immediate, but being able to have the piece of data that you're talking about loaded up
Right.
and
So that
then
that goes in the state board.
changed.
That goes in the
Yeah,
state board, and then the changes are presented in some sort of a uh, diff kind of a way where you're like, this is what it was, this is what it's changed to. You cool with that?
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. It's the whole kind of file based version of this. So um, that's I think that's an important thing. So once we've got if we go down this, so where did I get irritated? It's like version and it's retrieved it. Okay, I retrieved it. Fine. Okay. It's no, I'm back in the room. The next thing is permissions. Um, it would be very helpful if permissions when writing data were isolates as opposed to AI, because all you're saying is write this to the
Yeah,
event.
but hang on. can it just be an isolate that calls another AI, like a focused AI, like a bot that was prompted to deal with permissions and responds with a yes or no?
It could be, sure, but the point I'm making is there's kind of a hierarchy of permissions inside the bots as well, or will
Right.
ultimately be.
So look, I'm not hearing what I'm building for you. Like I don't.
File retrieval and file writing based on a bot. Number one.
All right. So you come in and you got a blank.
Yep.
There's a blank substrate.
Yep.
There's a super user account.
Yeah. Just to roll back a thing. Well, so the blank is a bit like this. Here are the files. That's the index, right?
So the first thing I'd say is I'm gonna paste some text in here. I want you to write it to the file prompt.json, and then
Yes.
you paste that in and go bang, and it would go wrote to file, and then it comes back, and now that's the system prompt.
Yep. Yep. Now,
Okay, that sounds like this is fun. So all
yeah.
right, so now you got you wrote to the file, and then Hal was reloaded with this session prompt in it, right?
Yep. 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 So the previous session from up to that point. So let's take a write operation.
Okay, so how about I'll give you the tools will be um you'll start in a folder of session prompts. You can say to Hal is prompted very basically with like how to list session prompts, how to create a new one, how to switch between them, and how to escape out. And so Hal,
Yep.
you're
And
like,
perhaps some kind of persistence in terms of context. So what I want
what?
to do is
You mean the
if
session window?
yeah. So I'll give you an example. If I'm this is the intent, which is actually working better than I thought it would do. If I'm talking about customers, then
Mm.
you load up an appropriate session for customers. When's the last time
Wait,
you
wait.
talked about a customer?
A session? You mean like a series of back and forth chats that were classified as being about customers?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So hang on, that's quite advanced. You wanna take the sessions, and each time there's a change to one, you want to categorize the message stream as being to do with various topics.
Yeah. I'll give you a hard example.
Yeah, I know what you
You
mean.
got it. You got it.
I'm
Okay.
just saying
Yeah.
that that's advanced to start with, right?
Okay.
Like
All
that's
right.
quite a lot to hit the ground with, because you
Right.
don't have that now.
Well, I'm faking it because I
Yeah,
turned into what was it? The
right.
built
But
the
what is
data
the
manager.
advantage of
Whatever.
that? Like I can see the general advantage, but what is the advantage to having that now? Like what can't you
Well,
do if you
the
don't have that?
advantage is at the architecting level. Um, so, uh, okay, so that's a transient advantage, but the overall advantage is what one a bot or the series of bots to do is to understand their intent. If they get a question in, you should
Yeah,
know why you're asking that question.
right. But
So
is that part of a background processing system that is attempting to fine tune the model to be better aware of the problem space?
yeah, it's possible. It's possible. This is I need to play with it, but
Right.
it's also possible with that
I
because we've got this forking thing. Is we got we got throwaway sessions effectively.
yeah, so that I can't give you that. I can't see how to build that straight off the bat. I can definitely see how to build the file thing, um, and the session thing. And what I'm thinking of giving you is an ejection and escape sequence. Hello.
I just lost the last 45 seconds or so.
Yeah, I know.
It's starting to really irritate me. I'm
It's
almost at the
it's
point I get the ladder up and see if there's like pigeon shit on the
well,
top of the
yeah, but
Starlink.
what is your Starlink stats? What do the stats say?
Healthy. There's no dropouts as far as it's saying.
Like
Checks pretty
right
well.
now, you're
Oh,
saying that thing was
I'll
not there
check
was
it
no
right now.
dropout.
Well, I only noticed dropouts on these VR sessions. I don't know whether it's particularly anxious
So
towards them.
yeah, so in the stats screen,
Yeah, 96.
could you send me a screenshot of your stat screen? Because I love
Yeah.
that screen.
Second.
Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Ba, bum, ba, ba, ba. Bum, ba, ba, ba.
Amuse yourself amongst. Where's my fucking Starlink? Oh, fuck. My phone's offloaded Starlink app. Which means it wouldn't have captured that data unless it's
No,
stolen.
it's captured on the server.
Is it? Alright.
Yeah. Sorry, not the server. The Wi-Fi base station captures that data.
Oh, here we go. I'm just saying if this is what you're talking about. Stand by.
Stunned by
Here you go.
yeah. Okay, can you show me? Why is there a big spike right when that dropout happened?
Was that when it happened?
Yeah.
Oh, that. Yeah, okay.
There's a
Servers
big
are.
download spike, right? The uploads, the upload's pretty consistent because that'll be our VR session,
Yeah.
and then there's this huge pump up. Are you able to see how much that actually was, the peak of that spike?
Hold on. Which one are you talking about?
The peak of the spike and the throughput, the blue line on throughput.
Stand by. It's still there. Nope. I can't zoom in on that.
You can't, even when you touch on it, you can't see it.
This is how much data you. That looks like.
Okay.
But it looks like for some reason it went up to 75.
So your link saturated. Your link saturated coming down. Now,
Am I minting claims for some fucking?
no, like, is someone else on the network and they just like started up
No,
Netflix and it buffered a huge amount?
I don't think so. I think I was asleep. Well, Tuesdays off night shifts.
So
And also
something's like,
teenager.
yeah, that's funny, eh? That spike, because look, it's huge. That's like
It's
that saturated your link.
several orders of magnitude.
What would cause such a thing?
Hold on. Give me 2 seconds. I'm just going to call Rosalind. She's the only one awake.
Right. We are still recording, so be mindful, please.
Yeah, she's probably not going to say anything. Well, should be saying nothing interesting.
Offer an incentive.
She might not know either. I'm pretty sure she's asleep. I mean, it's not even noon. No, it's not her.
Something on your network just pulled down a...
Oh, hello. Are you on your laptop right now?
No, I'm asleep.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye. Love you. Okay.
I was just checking, and you were asleep. Okay.
Well, what else is drawing data? The only other thing is my laptop.
Well, the
but,
VR headset,
well, the VR headset, yeah.
but we don't have any real insights into that. Something fucking thumped it. All right. Well, why don't we
Yeah, I need to profile that.
why don't we keep going? And next time you have a dropout, look at the screen again and see if it's got that huge spike. Like right now, you're breaking up. What's it doing now? Now I can't hear you.
Oh.
Yeah, you're back. Yep. So what's up?
I'll show you. Something's happening. Something is doing something.
Something's doing something. Okay, well that's better than...
The upload just spiked. Even though I'm doing fuck all. What am I uploading?
Yeah, that looks like... So the cutout is when your download dies. So that'll be like... And the poor performance is when your upload is being hammered.
Yeah, latency.
Someone or something...
Right.
Someone or something is just hogging the network.
Is doing stuff in their own friendly way.
Like it's almost...
I provide monthly laptop reset.
Yeah, or
It's got to be this. Well, we can't do anything about the headset. The only other thing.
what if you hotspotted your laptop?
Oh, good idea. Excellent thought.
Surely your activity monitor on your laptop would show you if... Do you have an activity monitor here? Macs have got that, have they? Where is it then? Is it just the update rate of the screen, or is it that this is actually really quite slow?
Okay, I've just put up activity monitor.
Okay, network. Data received 75 gigabytes. You murderous mother. Alright, well, why don't we just keep this in the background and then
we'll see if it breaks and
see if this is the culprit, because my money's on this thing. My money's on this thing.
On the headset?
No. On this Mac thing.
Yeah, but
right, so shall we
anyway,
resume?
Right. Where were we?
At least we've found a good correlation, right? Like there's network activity.
That was a smoking gun.
Yeah. And it's there are two kinds of dropouts you have. One is your speech starts to break up for me, that appears to be when the upload is getting hammered. And the other is when you go dark and disconnect completely, and that appears to be when the download is getting hammered. So,
Interesting.
yeah, fun times. Okay,
Yeah.
so
Right.
tell me what to build.
So, in answer to your question, what I'd want to do
What am I
is
doing?
to recreate this session without having to dump all these files into a single vector store and have to go back and say retrieve each time. And we'll do that by some kind of concierge saying, when I'm talking about customer, go to this file, retrieve, and then the second thing is write.
So is that to say that you need a search function where there's a tool that is like search for customer, and then it gives you back the results and injects them into the session sort of thing?
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, there's two ways we could do it. We could do it like a straight isolate search, or we could just give it a file such as this. Not that. Customer. Where is it? Right. It's like, okay, so tell me about Alice. Now, at the moment, I'm having to prod it every time to retrieve that.
Right. So you want this file. How do you expect that file to have been found amongst the 10,000 other records?
At the moment, I'm telling it through the system prompt, which is wrong. It should go through some kind of index, and then I can prompt Atlas saying,
what's an example of the user prompt that you would expect to have caused a retrieval to occur?
It should be implied. So, for example, if I ask, let's see where the find retrieve. Right. I don't want to have to do that. So my previous prompt.
I've just had a call from Alice Johnson. All right, so let's focus right on this thing. Okay, that's a reasonable thing for you to say. Now, I know what you expect to happen. You expect the retrieval to occur and the next pickup to be calculated. How do you see that going?
Okay, I can walk you through it. So all it knows is Alice Johnson. So first thing would be to go to customer data, find Alice.
Yeah, but hang on. So it would be given a function that is a search function that takes some search parameters.
Yep.
Right. Yep. So it would have. It always has in context the data spec for the customer records. Is that right?
Yep.
In context, it's got the data spec. It's then given a function where it can fill in parts of the data spec to form a query. So this query, it'll be first name Alice, last name Johnson, go. Hey, you're back. It's funny.
I got it, I think.
Yeah, this was that spike big though? Like what was?
Well, it's a substantially large number of.
Can you change? Could you change
base.
the packets? The thing that it's measuring in that graph to be data. Yeah.
I seem to be pushing a hell of a lot out. I'm not actually fucking doing anything.
No, that's not much. You're just dribbling out. That'll be just a couple of tabs or something. Because honestly, one of the issues is like you're running Chrome, right?
Yeah.
Does it shut down the tabs when they're not in use? Or did you disable that feature because you don't like to You might come back to it any minute.
I can't remember. I'm not going to that, but I
Yeah,
think next
'cause-
time what we'll do is I'll go for a clean reboot and see if that makes
yeah,
any
see if it
difference.
makes a difference, and then that'll narrow it down. I love
Yeah.
a good little network device witch hunt.
I've done one for a while.
Right,
Yeah.
so okay, so
Yeah,
you're
exactly what you're
expecting
saying.
there's some sort of a search tool. The bot knows when it's time to call on the search tool.
Right. So it would look saying, okay, who who the fuck is Alice? Right. Okay.
Yeah,
I know about customers. Right.
yeah,
Okay. So I'm going to go to a customer and find Alice.
yeah.
I also know from this prompt about how all this is weaved together.
Right.
And so I would take from Alice her location. I know
Mhm.
that there's a thing called locations,
Yep.
and that's her location. I also know that what you're asking is her next pickup, so I'm going to go to route plan, and I find her location is on this date,
Right.
and then
So
I'm going to go back.
So we're now 3 file reads deep. Is that acceptable to you? The first,
For
with
the
the first
CRM,
time,
that would cover
yes.
everything. Yeah.
So the first one, we went tool call search Alice Johnson. We got back a collection of files. One was selected.
Yeah.
We then went location lookup, location ID. That did a different kind of retrieval, a much more specific retrieval. That's not search. That's direct file reading. Read the file in. Now we've got the location. We
I
then
mean, you
did.
could, yeah, yeah. Sorry, go on, go on.
We then took that location and we then did something to figure out the routes. So we got the next scheduled date and all that, and then we summarized that back to Dave, and we're like, "Hey, this is what the deal
Right,
is."
right.
Right?
And you could hypothetically get more complex. I could have put in a query saying, who has the, I want to, Alice has asked for this change on this date to the routes. Who do I need to talk to who has permissions? So there'll be a couple extra steps there.
Yeah.
But that's where NL comes in. So that I would expect the NL to chunk it up. First of all, find out the route. Second, find out who has permissions. Then retrieve. So 3 deep seems it's probably come back and bite me. But I think we could do quite a lot with just kind of 3 deep for this application.
They could also make it so that once you've found a customer and you load them, it also loads everything about them, so that saves a couple of round trips.
Yeah.
That seems pretty
Now,
reasonable to do.
a question back is on structuring this. So, for example, routes. I've got all this in one file now. That's fine
Yeah.
now because there's not much test data.
Right.
But it might be
It's gonna be
that out.
no, it's absolutely gonna be one file per customer. That's how I got it set up at the moment.
Yeah. Okay. So
The reason for that is a performance one, because if you want to make a change to a really big file, that's quite expensive. But if you want to make a change to just one file in amongst thousands, that's much cheaper.
all right. So in which case, customer data would have an index.
There'd be a primary key. I would, looking at your data here, I'd be using the customer ID as the primary key. So the file name would be cust-001.
Yeah. Yeah. How would it find Alice Johnson if it just had an index of customer IDs?
The search tool is sort of like grep, where it knows where the customers are, and it's been told to look for.
Right, well, that'll work. Yeah.
It's basically
Yeah.
just grep, and then it goes through the
So-
string and pulls it up. Now I just want to mention another tooling approach that we will need at some point. Doing mechanical search doesn't give us nearness or fuzziness, and it also doesn't give us intelligence. So the ultimate goal for me is to be able to, first of all, have this mechanical search just as a, we'll just see how we go type of thing. But the backup search, or the backstop, the final tool, if the cheap tool doesn't work, is a huge number of AI calls reading through every single file and seeing which ones answer the question. Is this
Right.
Alice Johnson would be the question, and you'd just fire that off in parallel with huge batches of the customer records, and you're just like, yep. And that's what we'd use as if the mechanical one wasn't working, that intelligent one is what we'd do, and it will work out pretty damn good. It'd just be expensive.
Yeah, it wouldn't. Wow, I don't think it'd be that hard, because I'm going to work on this, where to stick this prompt. But given that it knows that there's a thing called customer data.
I think that when this prompt gets loaded is once it realizes that you're talking about customers. So there'd be a higher level data spec that talks about the top level items, like, are you talking about routes, customers, invoices, something else, or a collection of the above. And then once it's narrowed it down, using those data specs, then it loads up individual ones, like, okay, we're talking about customers, I need the customer data spec, here we go. And so it's boosting into its context every time it's able to narrow down or scope the intent differently.
Yeah. Well, a good example of that is this call. I've just had a call from Alice Johnson. At this point, the next thing it should be doing is finding out, throughout the entire weave of the CRM, everything that Alice Johnson is attached to.
Right, because there's
Locations,
nothing, as
routes,
soon as we
everything
know
else.
that you're talking about Alice Johnson, it should just go and grind
Right.
through everything and
Right.
as a background thread, and it's
Yeah.
just going around loading it up.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Now, I could have easily said, just had a call from Alice Johnson and, I don't know, customer 3, who want to have pickups on the same date. But that's just a recursive call of the same type. So now we know we're talking about 2 customers, or 2
Yeah.
routes, or 2
Yeah.
trucks.
So that's easy. And then that applies the same when an email comes in, because you're like, find the email address, and you're like, oh, yep, it's Alice Johnson. Okay. And then it's like you've got all that stuff loaded in context. So underneath the hood, what we're relying on is the fact that all the relevant data for a customer fits in the context window at the moment.
Right, and the context windows are getting larger and larger.
Yeah, so we seem like that's a good, safe angle to go down. We can do fancy tricks when, if and when that becomes a problem, but by and large, I agree with what you say. Like, once you've identified a target, load up everything about them into the context window, and then
Yeah, and this is what I was meaning about when we had that conversation about the sessions. Maybe sessions is not the best way to do it, but that switch of context. Say, just had a call from Alice Johnson. What's the date of next pickup? Say the next thing, I've just had a call from Kimberly. She wants to cancel a pickup, and then I should be able to say, right, now I'm talking about Alice Johnson. Let's get that sorted.
right. So fundamental to the system scoring a bullseye every time is session truncation based on the focused item. So, like, once your focus shifts from this customer to that customer, we would dump everything about the session prior, and we're like, you've changed, we might generate a summary just of what you input in case there was some miscellaneous data that is still relevant here, but
Yep.
the actual data retrieval would be completely blanked, and it would be just data retrieval about this current customer that we've identified the focus of, right?
Yeah.
And I think that works a lot like how you use drill down in a GUI, where you sort of click around and you focus what it is that you're on. And I think if we just get good at clarifying questions to figure out if we're still in the right level of detail for a customer.
Yeah, and this is just to reprise the 3 box thing. This is why I'm still a believer in moving out of NL when there's an action. The action can be described. It's like, I'm about to do this. Click
Right.
OK.
Yeah. So it's like an approval thing
Right.
that's quite special because you're like, change is about to be made. Here's all the info you need. I've done all the work for you. You just need to tell me it's okay.
Right, because otherwise you might accidentally end up cancelling Kimberly when actually it should be Alice.
Right. Okay. All right. So the first thing I'm going to make you is going to have an escape sequence in it, whereby whenever you say the safe word, it will dump you back into the vanilla prompt, where the vanilla prompt only knows how to load up other prompts and run them.
Okay.
Does that sound like a... Yeah.
That sounds really useful. Yeah.
Right. But do you want to be running the prompt as though it was HAL, or do you want to be running the prompt inside the state board so that you always stay in the top level HAL? You tell it to load up this other prompt, and then it kind of... It's separate, so you're running 2 windows, sort of.
I could do well. The second one is very much like what I'm using tabs for and cut and paste.
Okay, and then once you're satisfied, we'll publish a version that sort of you mark the current configuration as the good stuff, and then we push it out to the clients. I mean, if I skip something there, I mean...
Yeah. And
where is our verification of the integrity of the system?
That is on previous sessions that I've gone through. So I've done that manually, cut and paste. Well, actually, I think I've got still one open.
Right. So we need an eval, right? Like, we need to have a bunch of inputs with some test data.
There you go.
And we need to see the output and appraise it as being acceptable, right? And we need to do that in parallel for a lot of different things.
Yes. Yeah. This is the kind of the arbiter, the judge network. It's like, is this does this follow all these rules? And all I care about the rules. Don't care about what you've been talking about in the previous session. I don't care your context whatsoever.
I'm still a little bit clumsy on how to put that together, but I'll make you that first one, and then we'll just have to keep sort of working together to figure out how it needs to sit next. And then, because we need to be able to publish, latest version and test version so that the customers can sort of fiddle around before they commit it. And I'm just really fuzzy on how, what does upgrade mean in this system? Is it just the addition of several different helps? And is the customer told that they're currently using an experimental portion of the AI system, and therefore, you kind of want to do the integration on the live system with the live users in a way that they're aware of it, so that you can gradually introduce it all the time, rather than like, okay, we're going to try this new thing, like no one's really got time.
Well, absolutely. But also, upgrade doesn't make sense in the kind of AI world, because
Nah.
actually, I can just tell it something in session and change its functionality.
No, it's like, fuck, how the fuck does publishing work? Right, and then so the customers using the system, we've identified stucks that we've seen. We release the patches for the stucks, and they just seamlessly get They actually seamlessly get included now in the running system, which will generate more stucks. Hopefully, none of them are regressions, and none of them are worse than the ones that have come before. Right?
Yeah. Well, we can run the regression tests.
Yeah. So
around.
before we release a new patch to any help, we run the previous tests that assailed the system and gave us confidence that it behaved predictably and in a beneficial way. Plus, this new thing, we generate a bunch of synthetic tests that exercise the stuck that we were aiming to solve and verify that it's solved. And then once we were happy, we just push that down to the users, and the poor hapless users just start consuming it. Is that?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when was the last time, you know, well, actually, no, it's a stupid thing because they do it. But Google updates the stuff all the time in the background, never tells anyone. But what we do have is intents. So that is basically a bunch of regression tests. And your suggestion last time was a good one. With valid, and there's just one here. I've not gone through and produced more, but valid questions and then answer pairs.
Yeah.
Which must pass.
Yeah. QA pairs. Yeah.
Yeah, and that effectively runs.
Okay. Look at
constantly.
constantly. It genuinely feels quite close to having these things because the hardest part was the substrate. Hooking all this stuff up, it doesn't feel like it needs any more fundamental pieces under the hood. It's just a case of arranging the tooling that we've already got. So
yeah, it's just that, and even that first step of inside artifact generating a session, and then having read write, and this indexing and concierge, so it's not all dumped into one big vector at the start. Then we're just talking about prompting, probably. The next step, of course, is being able to have one bot kick off another bot. And if you do that, there's no human in the loop, and therefore you need these tests, the judges, to say, yeah, that doesn't break anything. We're not saying if it's correct, but we are saying it's coherent.
Okay.
I think I mentioned this before. Honestly, I'm struggling to ask you for any other functions other than those ones I've just gone through.
You think that's enough, or you think that's just you can't see any further until you have those?
I'm sure there's other things, but it's a bit like when we stumbled over the 3-block GUI idea. It's like at the moment I don't need to add anything into that. But undoubtedly there'll be a stuck, and I think, oh shit.
Right, but that's the whole point, though, is the graceful addition of solutions to stucks on a running system. That's kind of the thing. So an upgrade is actually a modified help that has been verified to work in concert with all the other helps. And now that's just a new Git commit. Basically, a branch just got merged from our experimental version, got merged into the production version, and all the clients just immediately started using that later version, right?
Yeah. And that coherence thing is actually, that's been the hardest bit of getting to this stage in the traceability. The coherence to start with was really poor because Hal kept on changing, the structure, format,
right,
changing names, that sort of thing.
Yeah, it flickers around the place.
Yeah. So I've kind of run it to ground a bit on that one, but I still don't trust it.
Mm.
I don't trust it on writing yet. Oh, what's that? Oh, phone. Figure it. I don't trust it on writing yet, except for ephemeral, session. But I think the point where I
Okay.
would
Yeah,
trust it
this honestly,
is,
this feels incredibly close to a basic working system.
yeah, I'm really keen to rerun this experiment on 4
Yeah.
and ask the same things. I think it was worth a try, but I think 3.5 seems to be hobbled in the background in terms of actual what it can do and how
Yeah,
coding is.
I'd
Yeah.
guess it though. That's because of the context window.
Yeah.
Its poor little brain's not big enough.
Mm.
Okay, so when GPT-5 launches, our job gets better or easier, but we'd still have to figure all this kind of stuff out anyway.
Yeah. Well, our job would be a bit more meta. In how do we get all these earlier tracer bullets, whereas bootstrapping from nothing? How do we get a bot to do that and come back and then ask us just really interesting questions? As opposed to me having to go through some of these early sessions, it's like, oh, fuck's sake.
Okay, man. Well,
Yeah. So that's where I'm at. You had 3 questions. I think we've only answered 2. What was the third one again?
it was about the arrival of GPT-5 and how that would impact us.
I think we've talked about that as well. Okay. Yeah, cool. All right. I'm off
Sweet.
to run this through 4. I'll commit this so you can see it if you want. And yeah.
Cool. Okay.
See you tomorrow. I'll
Yep.
tell you how I'm going.
All right. No worries. I'll keep on getting the cloud thing up and then connect up the UI again, and then probably be over to you.
Nice one.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
Sweet.
All right.
Okay, buddy.
See you on. Oh, by the way, it's much nicer on this side of the fence. You should jump over once you've done all your shit.
Oh, dude, I know. Like, my side sucks, but this looks like fun. Like, this
It
looks
really
like
is.
so many cool things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah. At some point, we should put up a speech-to-text interface to this kind of creation step, so I can just walk up and down and talk to it. That would be so fast. That would be so awesome.
well, it's already there. Like, that part's already built in.
Well, I know, but I'm not using it because
Yeah.
I don't trust, customer agent data being exactly replicated and so on. But
Right.
it's going to get really good. All right.
All right. Sweet.
See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow, buddy.